Good morning, everybody, and I want to start thanking the organization of the event for having invited me and allowing to present something which is about standardization. Standardization is obviously a complex topic, and we cannot cover in 15 minutes, in particular what we are doing. Here, one of the points is to give a perspective of some directions that standardization is taking. Although I will provide some few information elements about one of the body which is working on standards for IoT, the point here is looking at what is one of the main points of IoT is the connection of things. So what you are looking here, an organization like a global organization like IoT, telecom-centric, vendors, operators, but also other actors, is how the current existing network infrastructure, service infrastructure can be enhanced in order to support a new application, in particular IoT applications. So certainly we are seeing a strong evolution in terms of technology specific. We have talks this morning about devices, the evolution of devices. One of the points is also that we should look at standardization in terms of seeing the IoT as a global infrastructure in the future, which we can convey and support multiple applications, looking mostly at interaction between components, so that we cannot prevent evolution, technical innovation of components, functional component and associated physical components, or at least have a minimum constraint of them, and at the same time allowing to enhance the infrastructure. One of the points is that also yesterday in the talks there was discussion about disruption of architecture, disrupting technology, or building on existing technology. One of the points is certainly we may have a lot of different things, but if you want in the short, medium term, building on what we have allows economy of scale, allows reusability of what we have, allows to, in some way, not having to reinvest on new infrastructure. So one of the points is to see how standards can enhance what we have in order to support the new requirements. So that is one of the points, and ITU is one of the international organization focusing on telecom, so on the network. And one of the key points we are seeing in IoT is also that we are seeing at this point the integration, the convergence of application domains, so vertical industries with these, if you want to say, horizontal industries like telecom. So this is one of the main issues we have also in standardization, to bring all the actors together, so this multidisciplinarity that we have already heard in different speech. So I want to answer also, starting with this, say a few points that we have covered yesterday about standards, because some of these slides are more informative. So I think maybe in the panel there will be discussion also. So it was said yesterday we have a risk of fragmentation of standards, technical standards. That's true, we have a lot of standards. However, we have standardization bodies focused on specific domain, specific technologies, other bodies which are more horizontal in terms of network infrastructure. But one of the points is that certainly now we are facing this issue of integration. So it's at that point that we have to converge and see how common components can be reused across different industries, converging on a converged infrastructure. Another point was standards are frequently later and there are deployments before. That's true, but one of the value of global standards is that we can drive a competitiveness, we can drive efficiency, we can have economy of scale. So looking at that, standards should be supported and participation from the different actors. So not only the usual telecom industry, but in particular with the arrival of the consumer, the users, a lot of societal implication of the IoT. We need to have the disciplinarity and the participation of the different roles in standardization so that proactively we can have a longer-term stability of the solution. And a short-term deployment or local deployment, which are maybe successful, even global deployment, in some cases do not have characteristics like cross-domain integration. They have the issue about sustainability. So in the longer term, this may be not a sustainable solution. It doesn't allow competitiveness. So standards in that sense still have a very important value. And the other point I want to make is that yesterday it was said IoT application, there was Dr. Marao mentioned the quadrant of Pasteur, IoT application are in that quadrant. I think one of the points is that certainly this is the point of convergence of things. However, we certainly have still to work on enabling technologies that can allow to enhance the infrastructure to support IoT. So we have work on enabling technology. We have concrete deployment, so focusing on specific requirement application domains. And all together, we can try to work to a more converged infrastructure which multi-domain can be supported, enabling technology can be integrated to reuse what we already have. So these were some of the points I wanted to make at the beginning. Now, starting with the presentation, and these are just a few elements. This is a definition that IoT, I'm talking about IoT as being involved here. I think this definition is something on which hopefully we have a quite good consensus among the parties, not only in IoT, but we have worked with other organizations. I want to mention European Union, Internet of Things Research Cluster, which work with IoT. So one of the points we see in this definition is that we look at IoT as a longer term as a global infrastructure. We look at certainly as a key point the interconnection of things and the full usage of things in terms of services for applications. So we should use as much as possible the things and their characteristics, their information in order to provide application. And in terms of Node 2, we also said that in a broad perspective, the IoT can be seen as a vision with technical and societal implications. So here, certainly, there is the point that we are looking at a fully enhanced infrastructure in which not only business application, but societal application, institutional application can be supported. So towards what was said already, the Internet of People. And it was mentioned before, machine to machine. I already said that one of the points is to integrate enabling technology. So now machine to machine, which is in some ways down in the curve that was mentioned before, it's just seen as enabling technology, but there are many others that should support this future-looking global infrastructure. This is just a brief view about the technical view, ambitious word, but it just mentioned that we may have physical or virtual things. Things are associated with information is associated with things, and we can map physical things to virtual things, or not necessarily virtual things can exist per se. And then we use the concept of device as the entity which is integrated directly in the communication networks and allow them things and their information to be transferred and exchanged in the information networks. This is the picture about what we called originally IoT reference model. So it's not certainly an architecture. It's just a very, very high-level model. It's just some starting blocks to see what are the areas in which we need to work on. And it's not also a deployment view. We talk about gateway capabilities or device capabilities, but a physical gateway can have capability at device level, can have capability at application level, and so on. So it's not even a deployment view. What essentially I want to mention here is that we look at different layers, the application above, a layer which is called the service support and application support layer, as a key essential layer in terms of platform. And here, one of the distinctions we want to make in the term of the longer term is that generic and specific support capability are distinguished in the sense that those generic are those ones that hopefully could be common building blocks, can be reusable across different application domains. And specific capability could be something that can be specifically developed for an application domain, for an application, and then maybe dynamically plugged in an existing platform, in existing infrastructure. So this concept of modularization is, in the view, at least one of the directions standardization is to look at this as a possibility to realize economy of scale and step-by-step deployment integration over an existing infrastructure. And then we have the usual network layer for control of transport and transport itself, some device level capability, and then some cross capability that here we have put in terms of across the layers, so management and security, which also can be distinguished in terms of specific or generic capabilities. This is also a slide which, I mean, this is not necessarily what is specific to standardization, but I put here as we have seen this also in terms of the contribution that we receive in standardization. So in standards, and here there are many, and in the standardization arena there are so many standardization bodies. We have seen work on specific technology, vertical application, and we are seeing that, still that, but now we are looking also at some horizontal solution. How, for example, in an application, typical application of integration, smart cities, we can integrate over a converged infrastructure different applications. From business-to-business services, we are going to service in which consumer or more better user, institution, can also be part of this, and so will be essential part of this IoT space, and a variety of business models. So the issue of business model is also an essential one, because we should build, and in particular in technical standardization, architectures and componentization in such a way, open way, and flexible way that we can accommodate a different business model. Not that one business model is not long-term viable, and we need to build another infrastructure if we wanted to look at new business models. So one of the other point important is we move to more converged infrastructure, which from typical cellular network application in the past, we look at infrastructure like we have multi-access technologies over the same core network, integration of cloud. Cloud as a component is enabling technology. Not necessarily cloud is the solution for everything, but cloud can bring some values and can enhance the capability of the IoT infrastructure. And this is the key concept I was mentioning before. So we move from silos, configured per vertical application, to an integrated platform in which multiple applications with the components-based approach can be supported. One slide here is about ecosystem. So this is just a very, very simple picture we put in terms of ecosystem of IoT, and IoT is a generic word. We may have an ecosystem for e-health, an ecosystem for transport, and maybe an ecosystem for convergent and integrated applications. So the idea here is that in technical standardization, which has not been mostly the case in the past, now with the convergence of industries, different industries with the telecom, we have more and more this problem. So, and more business model, I was saying, arrive. So how to integrate this business model, how to make efficient and sustainable solutions. So we need to look at that in order to have the possibility to provide openness, to provide competitiveness, and look at this deployment. It means also looking at different use cases and scenarios which can drive the models. So yesterday I saw a solution about e-health monitoring. And in fact, this is certainly a very important area. However, even from the health monitoring point of view, when we look at solution for urban territory or a rural area, or a developing country, maybe the business model can be very different. So examples that we have seen recently in the region Asia Pacific about solution for Bangladesh, where a nurse carry a health checkup case and goes in a different region because we cannot have everything using the connectivity through a centralized hospital. The connectivity is not pervasive or power supply is not stable. So different requirements can bring different solutions in terms of business models. So we need to accommodate in this consideration proactively these different business models. Sorry. Yes, I'm going to conclude. Okay, so this slide is about an idea about when we are working about the high-level consideration, what a high-level requirement that can bring us to identify some common blocks. I will not go into some of details now, but what I was saying is this one. So in terms of integration of technology, machine-to-machine, autonomic networking, so support by control network functions of autonomicity, Data mining, data reasoning, big data. Big data is not only the added value of data, it can be also an issue for networks. How to manage appropriately the aggregation of data so that we don't carry all the data everywhere if we don't need them. We need to take the intelligence appropriately. Security and privacy is very obvious. Cloud, service delivery platform. So this is one of the issues in IoT that we have also had, starting with service delivery platforms. How to have valuable, sorry. Thank you. How to have solution which can provide competitiveness, for example, in the scenario of a service delivery platform, the web, over-the-top player versus interconnection providers. And so role of standards, to summarize a point, is that standards can play a role in different areas for a large-scale adoption. So I mentioned here a few ones, but certainly important: openness, cross-domain integration of application, of data from different applications, in example of smart city, interoperability, economy of scale, security and privacy, solution which can be reused across different environments for security or for privacy protection, and affordability. So in e-health, for example, we don't need standards, we don't need the many type of device all standardized for monitoring always the heartbeat or the sugar in the blood. We need the solution that can be standardized, can allow economy of scale. So in some critical domain, affordability is certainly important, and standards can help on that. So in 1 minute, I want to say that we are also working on what is the future. So here are just a few considerations that I put in personal consideration we are discussing, I put in terms of how standardize the IoT in an evolutionary way. Certainly we can have disruptive technology. In terms of evolutionary aid to allow reusage of existing technology, we need to focus on common technology across application domain. We use not focus, or at least not the big focus, standardized specific technologies, but building of a standardized new architecture model in which we focus on the interaction between entities. This entity may be implemented and deployed independently, and we just focus on the interaction. Then specific working standards can be done on components. But one of the key issues is how to build all together an economy of scale and a global infrastructure. So I think this is one of the points, and we are discussing things. This is based on IoT. We are discussing modeling, how to integrate from the beginning security by design, or information model, appropriate information model, in terms of having function and then deployment views, profile. We are talking about IoT Forum about profiles for the same modeling. So to conclude, I think standardization of a reference model is one of the key points of standards. Focus on functional interaction. Concerning deployment in different domains, certainly we should do that. There is a lot of work to be done, and a lot of things in intelligence can be in the net, can be in the edge, so focusing on specific evolution of devices. However, also the integration of existing technology that we have to reuse and facilitate added value, integrating cloud, integrating service delivery platform already there, can strengthen the applicability of the IoT standards. So different areas are there. I think standardization of the architecture model is certainly now a critical issue. In fact, various organizations are working on that. So this is just a few elements. Thank you very much.